everyone, I think, by now has seen the video of LeBron James after the Lakers win yet again. And again, I'm not a lip reader, but apparently telling Stephen A. Smith to leave my son out of that you-know-what. Leave my son out of that you-know-what. Now, Stephen A. Smith is celebrating the fact that he just signed a $25 million a year deal, reportedly, for his new contract, which, again, I don't know how much Cowherd makes or Dan Patrick makes. Those guys, I believe, are at the top of the field in terms of salary. But I'm guessing that puts Stephen A. Smith as, if not the most, he's in any conversations, the most powerful guys in broadcasting. Now, of course, if you follow your boy on social media, I got Twitter bombed, if you will, by LeBron going back a couple weeks ago, Monday, where on his day off on President's Day, by the way, fresh off our first win in a couple of months, he made fun of our record, and no one actually knows why, because LeBron simply tweeted it, didn't tweet at me, tweeted, quote tweeted. But the assumption was it was about any sort of negative feedback about his son, right? It's a fair assumption. Jay Stu, am I making fair assumptions about what he said to Stephen A. last night?
We have Stephen A. explaining what it was. So for the listeners that haven't seen it, LeBron approached Stephen A. in the middle of the game? Was it like at halftime or something? I'm not even sure. There was a lot of video. It's all around. And then Stephen A. explained it in the first couple minutes of First Take today.
That wasn't a basketball player confronting me. That was a parent. That was a father. And I can't sit here and be angry or feel slighted by LeBron James in any way in that regard. By all accounts, he's obviously a wonderful family man and a wonderful father who cares very, very deeply about his son. And based on some of the comments that he had heard, or shall I say I think he thought he heard, he clearly took exception to some of the things that he heard me say, and he confronted me about it.
Right. So he's talked about his son. Okay. Here's the deal. LeBron James was, and has always been wrong about this one. Was, and has always been wrong about this one. Okay? Because if your son is a high school kid and we're talking about a game here or a game there and there's no reason to point things out, and again, we can go back to breaking down somebody's high school tape or rating them in college or whatever. And I have no doubt that what LeBron hears is 10x to what's actually said. A lot of what is said or what is repeated is people on social media, and we've done a terrible job as society. First of all, let's just be honest. Twitter's a joke now because every comment on some level matters because there's no delineation between people with blue check marks. You can pay for a blue check mark. And so many of these shows, it started with entertainment shows, news shows are like that. Some sports shows do it, where you amplify random's tweets with these are people that they just don't matter. Now, if you want to go back and pick out any of the things that I've said, I'll stand by them, but their analysis of a high school or college or now professional basketball player. But here's the thing. Hey, LeBron. And again, LeBron will be able to get away with it. You will have people that will take Stephen A's stance where they go, well, this is a dad protecting his son. I get it. I get it. I get it. No, it's not. This is professional basketball. This is the NBA. There are 450 jobs in the entire world. And the poem or the speech that is sent to me more often than anything I've ever received since becoming a head coach is the man in the arena. That's the old Teddy Roosevelt, the man in the arena. And no one knows what it's like unless you're the man in the arena. And so the point about Bronny James and his play and our depiction of his play or a depiction of how LeBron has made everybody. This is why J.J. Redick said, "Oh, he's earned everything he's gotten. Of course he belongs here." Because if you don't say this, it's no different than what Trump does. You either kiss up to these people, or they act like you're the world's worst person, and they shame you, or they blame you, or in Trump's case, they try and throw litigation at you. The Trump expression, and I know this from somebody who worked for Donald Trump, is you're either at the table or you're on the menu. Right? You're either at the table or you're on the menu. It's just bully tactics. And that's what LeBron did. Yeah, he's a dad. And just like a bad AAU dad, okay? Just like a bad AAU dad, you don't confront people about your son. Now, if you're an AAU dad and some Hanyak is in the stands and they're taunting him and teasing him or whatever, and it's somebody like Stephen A. Smith who, you don't taunt and tease when you're Stephen A. Smith. You're just some loser fan. Just some loser fan. But Bronny James is in the NBA. And he's in the NBA because LeBron wants him in the NBA. That's it. That's the only reason why. Only reason why. There is no world in which Bronny James is in the NBA if his dad isn't making it happen. Okay? Now, he's not the only NBA player who's there because there's favors in the NBA. There are fewer than there used to be, but there are favors. Obviously, Giannis's brothers have been in the NBA and they stink. Okay? He's a much more skilled basketball player than Giannis's brothers. But he's tiny, and he's non-impactful, and he's taking up a roster spot from a legitimate NBA player. And that is legitimate criticism of a professional basketball player. He is not a middle schooler. He is not a high schooler. He is not even in college. He is collecting a salary and guaranteed that salary for 4 years. And so if you don't think that critique of your son is above board, then why is critique of anybody above board? Because he's your son? Dude, this is why I remember back the last time LeBron was a free agent and everyone knew he was going to L.A. And you had people putting out there, hey, maybe you go to San Antonio. Greg Popovich has a couple of rules of joining the Spurs. Do you know what the number one rule of joining the Spurs is? Get over yourself. And when you're criticizing people and confronting them or tweeting at radio hosts who coach a Division I college basketball team and quote tweeting and subtweeting about people because they've been critical of your NBA son, you are definitely not over yourself. Definitely not over yourself. I have said and will continue to say that if this is the worst thing LeBron James does, right, force the Lakers to draft his son and then, and then the forced narrative of there's lots of other teams that were interested in drafting Bronny. Like, no, there weren't. It doesn't mean that he wasn't going to be a good college basketball player eventually. It doesn't mean that he doesn't work hard. He does. There's 450 jobs. Those are the best in the world. What are we doing? Okay? But if you can't take that criticism because it's your son, so we're supposed to not be honest about our portrayal of Bronny James? Well, is that what we're supposed to do? So, again, do I think LeBron James is a bad person? No. Do I think he has a black heart? No. Do I think this is who he really is? Yes. Yes. And look, I get it, okay? It doesn't feel good when people make comments about you, especially when they don't really know. And I'm sure LeBron's thing is like, hey, my kid, he went on a very good team at SC last year. He had the heart attack. Like, that stuff was scary. I'm with him every day. He wants it really bad. It's very personal to him. I get it. But once you're in the NBA, sorry, man, this is the NBA. This ain't show friends. This is show business. This ain't show friends. This is show business. And Stephen A. saying the quiet part out loud. Say what all reasonable and reputable people say. Who was it? Was it Jaylen Brown over the summer that was sitting courtside in Summer League that was caught lipping he's not an NBA player? He's not. And if LeBron, you're going to go and confront everybody who has that belief in your son. And again, the only way for Brian to do it is to overcome and to make the league and to look like a valuable commodity. He hasn't looked like that. And you can give me the one or two G League statistical quality performances. The reality is I have friends that evaluate the G League. You know, his last big game, he was completely inefficient. No, yeah, by the way, he was going against Isaiah Thomas, who's a former star in the NBA, but hasn't been a star in like a decade and is fighting his way to try and get back and can't guard anybody because of his hip and his size. And he still dominated the game against Bronny. But that's not personal. That's professional. Right? From a personal standpoint, LeBron James has been a good person, a good human, a good dad, and a good husband. That's okay. That is the professional way to look at his personal life. But our evaluation of Bronny James is just that. Dude, he's an NBA player. Do I think that it was a joke that Jonathan Givony, who's like been the gold standard in NBA pre-draft rankings for a long time, he put him as the 10th best prospect? This is going back before his freshman year at. This is going back before his freshman year at USC. Do I think that was? Yeah, he shouldn't have been a McDonald's All-American. And I know that not because I'm a hater. I know that because I lived in Southern California. I went to high school games. He played in the Mission League. He wasn't one of the 5 best players in the Mission League. I don't think he was one of the 10 best players in the Mission League that season. In addition to which, he was at a high school that was loaded with talent, and they didn't actually win that year. So there was no statistical metrics, or there was no, well, you know, you can't see it in stats because they win a whole lot more because of Bronny. That's not hating. We're talking about the McDonald's All-American game, which, again, it's been political in the past, no doubt. You know? And I'm not denying that politics play a part in lots of people getting lots of opportunities in professional basketball. One of my dad's mentors and a man he worked for is named Tex Winter. Tex Winter is the architect of the triangle offense. And so when I first got invited to minicamp with the LA Lakers in the fall after my senior season, I was playing professionally for a team in Russia but training in Italy, and I flew back for a minicamp to try and make the vet camp with the LA Lakers. I only got that opportunity because Tex Winter watched all my games, liked me, and probably did my dad a solid. But that doesn't get me on an NBA roster. That doesn't get me a 4-year guarantee. But my dad's also not LeBron James, so I get it. Politics has always played a part in getting opportunities. But once you get that opportunity, you're putting yourself out there. You're the man in the arena. And if you're not good enough, people are allowed to comment on it, especially ones that evaluate basketball. And again, no one understands more than me how people who don't pay attention can make comments about things they have zero idea about. Right? Even LeBron, he had commented about my team. Do you think he had any idea? Okay, all of the injuries and misfortune that we had and the youth that we had and when we got to, he didn't care because all he sees is final record and he thinks it's funny. Okay, fine. That his comments don't have value to me. Okay? They don't have value to me. But somebody that analyzes basketball, and I put myself as a man in the arena by standing on the sidelines and saying, I want to coach a team. And look, we won 4 games. Our season is done. We're finished. Okay? And oh yeah, by the way, my morning, among the things I was spent doing was we're putting up our record all over our building. We are what our record says we are. And we're either going to beat that next year or we're going to live down to that number. But the point is that if you want your son to be in the NBA, you have to be willing to be criticized. Right? That just the world isn't full of people who can take criticism. It's just not. The world isn't full of people who can take honest feedback. It's just not. But there is no world in which a dad who single-handedly makes it so that his son is on an NBA team that he plays on can accost the biggest name in sports about the analysis of his son. And look, do I think that Stephen A. is a basketball analyst? I don't. And even Stephen A. would tell you, like, I mean, he's not a basketball analyst. Like, he played 1 minute, he played, one college basketball game? He's a sports talker. But his opinion does matter. And if you put it's okay for him to call Rasto Nesterovic is terrible. Rasto Nesterovic was a hell of a player overseas and at times a decent NBA player. That's okay. But commenting on Bronny James' lack of readiness for the NBA is not. Get over yourself, which he's not, which is why he would never be a Spur. So, yeah, that's honestly, Stephen A. felt the wrath of what it's like to be an AAU coach, what it's like to be a college coach. And LeBron James, as amazing a basketball player as he is, he's cashing in the equity he has, and all the LeBron sycophants are going to be like, yeah, you tell him, LeBron, Bronny's off limits. Why? He's not a child. He's a professional basketball player. And if you're going to be a professional basketball player, you have to be better. Or you're going to go through that level of criticism time and again. That's how it works. It's just how it works. I guess I should be surprised, but I'm not, that LeBron, who coached AAU last year, is handling it just like an AAU parent would.